You're listening to the morning briefing with Friedman.
Let's go. Chop, chop.
Hey, good morning, my dear friends, and welcome to beautiful Surfside, California on this foggy morning. Where the heck did my son go? It's still summertime, although, man, this summer is zooming by, isn't it? It just feels like it's been here and gone in a single instant. But we have got tremendous fishing. If you ask me, we're looking down the barrel of the best fishing of 2023, this late summer and into the fall, and I think even into the winter, if we can stay away from Arctic-based storms. Man, the Dorado fishing yesterday was absolutely phenomenal. Wide open Dorado, moving up the Baja Coast, pushing into Southern California. And did you hear that live show we did yesterday? Quick little update with the great manager of 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro, California, Mike Morrison, pointing out that several sources have seen very close to San Pedro, very close. They've seen yellowfin tuna and Dorado on the kelps. A similar scenario to what we saw last year when we saw the fish for several weeks before it settled down and decided to bite. We're seeing it now, and that's great news, including some giant bluefin tuna out there near Santa Barbara Island, Tanner Bank, and Cortez Bank. Our friend Pat Whitaker on the bait boat Mañana went out there, and he told me some things about that area that'll blow your mind. We'll have that. Private boaters checking areas out for all of you Friedman Adventure family members, and so much more on this foggy morning. You know what time it is. It's time for the morning briefing. Good morning, my friends. Oh, always great on a Monday morning to start out with a cup of coffee with you. I hope you are enjoying a cup or a cup of tea or a glass of water, whatever it is that floats your boat. Hey, don't forget, hit that like button. It means a lot to us. It really helps us to grow, and I can't thank you enough for doing that. Share these videos. That also is a big way for us to grow. And then tick the bell. You'll be notified when there's new content, like yesterday when we went on live. If you had ticked the bell, you were notified and were able to jump on board. Already 1,000 people have watched that. And also, don't forget, subscribe to the Friedman Adventures channel right here on YouTube. We're also Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. You can catch us there also. Hey, don't forget, on October the 20th, we'll be on a 5-day trip. Friedman Adventures and the Independents have come together. So great to welcome them on board of the Friedman Adventures family. The boat, the food, the crew, and the fishing. It's going to be great. $2,250 for a 5-day trip, leaving from Point Loma Sport Fishing in San Diego on October the 20th, and we will be there. In fact, I'll be there shooting a new video. Can't wait to do that. Also, folks, we have a raffle to help support our Mexico efforts. If you'd like me to send you information on how you can participate from home, we can fill out your tickets, take a photo, and send them to you. Let me know, and I'll send you the details. 657-227-6459. I think we're sold out on all our charters. We may have a couple of spots open. I'll let you know about that tomorrow morning on the morning briefing for sure, so you can get caught up. Whoa, there was some conking going on down in San Diego, and Northern Baja is getting in on it also. Man, the Dorado bite just went to another level yesterday, and it's so good to see the full day boys getting in on that bite out of San Diego. They were all over it yesterday. Those are boats that leave in the morning and come back that very same evening, and they conked the Dorado, and there was a good shot of yellowfin tuna in there mixed up with it, and some yellowtail to go along with it. I have to start there because it really was phenomenal. I'm leaving some guys out, forgive me, but these boats either had limits of Dorado or were right there knocking at the door on the flatheads. The Malahini, the Sea-Watch, the San Diego, the Old Glory, the Point Loma, the Mission Bell, the Liberty, I think, had a great trip. I'm telling you, it was as good as you could possibly want. It seemed to go up a notch yesterday. It seems as we get deeper here into summer, into late summer, I should say, we are seeing more and more flatheads push up. A consequence of the storm that came through here, Tropical Storm Hillary, created that upward flow and pushed more fish in here? That is one possibility. The effects of the El Nino undoubtedly making an impact now with that warm water. And of course, when you have warm water, you're going to have warm water species moving up the Baja coast also. So really great signal down there on 5 to 20 plus pound Dorado. A lot of yellowfin starting to move in. Also, we're not seeing huge scores on the YFT quite yet, but we are seeing a lot more of that, and there's some really nice grade yellowtail on the kelps also. I mean, a lot of 12 to 20 pound forkies on the kelps, and you can hardly beat that. That is what I call great fishing, and some of that extends down into northern Baja in the Ensenada area. Those pongueros are able to get out and get it done. If they find the right kelp, it is a numbers game. The more kelps you find, the better your chances of scoring on the flatheads right now. Most of those fish are on a fly line bait, 25, 30 pound fluorocarbon. They were even biting the 40 pound on several of these boats. I have no doubt they bite the 60 pound. Choosing a good hot bait makes all the difference in the world. It's a great way to get a bite, and a belly hook bait was super effective. You can go with a nose hook bait if you don't get bit. Soaking the bait, sometimes on the slow retrieve, as you wind it back, you'll get bit. And tuna bite it that way, Dorado bite it that way, just about everything. It's a good way to slowly retrieve your bait for a little while and see if you don't have something jump on it. Number one circle hook seemed to be very good, but you could jump up to a bigger hook also in some of these bites as it was flat, wide open. Acrobatic, colorful, great eating. Dorado making an impact now, and as Mike Morrison pointed out, right here in the LA Orange County area, not far from home, you're going to see Dana Wharf boats starting to get fish on their local fleet. You're going to see San Pedro boats, Long Beach boats. I think it's ready to happen. We're seeing it, and it's a huge stretch to this thing. When you consider that we have Dorado up here in the LA Orange County area, and that extends several thousand miles if you think about it. Those flatheads are up and down the coast, man. It is truly remarkable. Dorado are a fascinating fish, one of the fastest growing fish in the sea, a fish that you can literally measure its growth every single day. You'll see some progress with regard to growth. They are a remarkable fish. Mike Morrison said they lived to 8 years in our live broadcast. I remember 2 to 4 years with some exceptions to that. Put a comment in there, please. How long does a Dorado live? What is the lifespan? Who's right? Mike Morrison? Or, of course, your host of the Friedman Adventures podcast. We all know who it is. Right, probably Mike Morrison. All right, so anyway, they are a remarkable fish, and it's so good to see that flood in here right now. We are seeing some remarkable progress with regard to that. Now, it comes at a pretty good time, too, because Tanner Bank the last few days have not been all that great. Is it the wind? I don't think so. You know, those fish have shown no weather sensitivity all year long. In other words, sometimes you'll get a bite where you think they're weather sensitive. The weather's up, fish down. An old axiom that we use in sport fishing. But I don't think that's the case. I mean, we were out there on the horizon in some pretty sporty weather and catching them full speed the other day. I guess it's been a few weeks now. I think it's probably moon phase. We get into the moon phase that we're in right now. We've seen it in the past month where they just get funky and get off the bite for a little bit, and then they bounce back and decide to bite pretty darn good. So we'll see if indeed that is the case or not. Pat Whitaker runs the bait boat Mañana. He said, heck, I'm going to go out to Tanner and Cortez and check it out. And he said, Phil, I got to tell you, there's a lot. And I mean a lot of fish. We've been talking about the biomass of bluefin tuna on Tanner and Cortez. And man, it is impressive. And Pat said the same thing. He said it didn't bite crazy good, but he thought moon phase perhaps was the thing also. But he said there's a lot of fish. And look out, man. We are a long way from over on that Tanner Bank bluefin tuna bite. And of course, we've got big yellows on Cortez Bank. We're going to talk about our friends from the 540 Slingers Club in a moment and how good they did out there on board the Freedom. They had a remarkable trip on big yellows out there at Cortez. All right, so that Tanner Bank bite, a few fish taken last night. So there are still some fish at night, and that's going to switch and pop again. Once again, 300 to 400 gram jigs with 100 to 130 pound spectra. 200 pound leader works good. Drop when the captain tells you to drop, and drop to the exact depth that he tells you by using metered line that changes colors every 100 feet. Then you know where your little lure is, and you'll get more bites by doing that. Perhaps, however, the wind has made things more difficult, and it's going to remain breezy. It's out there, again, kind of breezy. Not terrible, definitely fishable. By Thursday, we get some really great weather. It stretches into next weekend. So if that long-range forecast holds up and you're on a trip next weekend, baby, you are in the driver's seat. It's looking really good out there on Tanner Bank. Private boater I met at the fuel dock yesterday when I was talking to Whitaker, and he said, man, we couldn't get out to Tanner, but we gave it our best and searched around some other areas. Man, it was tough fish.
What's your name again?
Rocky Gonzalez.
Hey, Rocky, and the weather was up, right?
Yeah, definitely big swell. No sign of action. Found probably 30 patties. Couldn't see one fish underneath them.
Really?
So we went to Hamilton and Avalon, spent the night.
Yeah.
Left from there, went to 14 Mile Bank. Quite a few boats out there. Again, a lot of patties, birds on top of patties. No, nothing in the structure.
Darn.
Crazy.
Great to hear from that private boater, because, I mean, it's guys like that that are really instrumental to our intel. He watches the morning briefing every morning, so it's a good time for me to say thank you. Thanks for watching the morning briefing, and great to see you all. I'll be at 22nd Street Landing today with Greg Bates. We're doing some paperwork. We're doing some cleanup in the office. The raffle is there. If you happen to be going by 22nd Street Landing today, say between the hours of 10 and 3, we'll be there. Stick your head in the studio. Come on in. We'd love to chat with you for a little bit. Always a pleasure to do that. So keep that in mind, my friends. All right, let's get you now and start talking about the islands. We'll start down there at Todos Santos off Ensenada. We can tell you that San Quintin is having really good yellowtail fishing. 140 miles down the Baja coast. You can drive there or you can take your boat there. Good yellow fishing going on down there. Some yellowfin tuna offshore and a lot of Dorado on the kelps down there. Also getting you up to Ensenada, and they have those kelp patty fish outside of there. You find the right kelp, you get well on the Dorado. Fast 2 fish per angler per day in Mexican waters. 10 fish per angler, per day in U.S. waters on the flatheads. Dorado, that is the limit. So you can get that done. Great mixed bag fishing all year long in Ensenada. There's still calico bass. There's good barracuda at times, mostly a pick at the gar right now. Sand bass still biting down there. There's plenty of rockfish. Nice mixed bag. We'll get you up to San Diego, and their bass bite has really slowed up. In fact, the bass bite everywhere has slowed up quite a bit, but it's still good if you're fishing that lighter line. We'll get into that in a moment. But San Diego, picking at the bass stand, there's some days it's really, really good. Tons of rockfish to back it up. And watch out, those local boys, those half-day, three-quarter-day boys are going to be catching Dorado on kelps here very, very soon. I know one angler asked that question on our live show yesterday with Mike Morrison. I think it's going to happen for you on the half-day, but I believe he's out next week, and that should start to progress up and down the coast. We see a little bit of bass here and there. Sometimes it's really good. A lot of short fish, a lot of action going on up here in the LA Orange County area. That bite has definitely backed off quite a bit. But having said that, the native sun cranked out limits a day ago and had some really, really good fishing. Overall, though, that sand and calico bass bite, that tremendous, really memorable bite in 2023 has slowed way up. And as Nick Ramirez will tell you, he was on board the Pride yesterday, and Nick, an original Patreon member, I think the very first Friedman Adventures Patreon member. The guy has started out fishing, and I've watched his progress. I've watched how he loves to share sport fishing with family members and friends. He's so enthusiastic about it that he can't contain himself, and he wants to spread the word, so to speak. And Nick is an incredible guy and just a wonderful human being, and he was out conking on the fish. In fact, he gave me credit. He said, man, I've been listening to Friedman Adventures, dropping down to 15-pound, using a good hot bait. That's what makes a difference when bass fishing. That is certainly advice I talk about a lot, as you well know, probably too much here on Friedman Adventures, but I give all the credit to Nick for listening, for talking to the crew, for learning how he can better his game, and he did it yesterday on the Pride. They fished rockfish in the morning out of the 22nd Street Landing base boat, and then calico bass in the afternoon. Nick said it was great, and he got to share it all with his nephew, Jesse. What, I ask you, is wrong with that? Some really great fishing there on the Pride yesterday, as usual. Other boats up here in this neck of the woods, Long Beach, San Pedro, Newport. When they don't catch on the bass, you can back it up with some great sculpin fishing, some rockfish to go along with it. Nothing wrong with that. You're going to have some great fish tacos. Channel Islands, they got some windy weather up there that is persisting here this morning, so we'll see where that all falls. Hopefully, that's going to back off here pretty soon, but it looks like it's going to continue to blow for a few more days. Hopefully, guys will be able to get out and make those rockfish catches, prolific rockfish up there. We even saw white sea bass up on the Black Pearl up there out of Morro Bay, way up the line there. Santa Barbara Sea Landing with good rockfish. They've continued to crank away on the bottom grabbers also, so that's been pretty darn good. Catalina Island, let's start talking a little bit about that now as we take a look at Cat. A few yellows out there. You get a shot, it seems like, every single time. One guy will hook one, he'll lose it because he's on the light line. Another guy will catch some fish. The pursuit a few days ago had, I think, 3 white sea bass and a couple yellowtail, along with the mix of other stuff, a few calicos and rockfish and whitefish. Talked to many guys who were out yesterday and said it was a little bit on the slower side of Catalina. San Clemente Island, we continue to see some pretty darn good fishing going on there in that neck of the woods with some yellows and calico bass and rockfish. Now, the guys on the 540 Slingers Club were there on the front side of San Clemente Island yesterday, and they had an absolute ball. Those guys are so much fun. Jeff Yeomans, Darren Dohe was out there, and several other of the great 540 Slingers Club's guys. But it was really the previous day on board the Freedom out of 22nd Street Landing that they want to remember, because they had just an outstanding bite out there on Cortez Bank where the big Forkies wanted to play. Big yellows, and you know those guys are taking most, if not all, of those fish. Well, no, a lot of them on the iron. Let's put it that way. A lot of bait fish also, but a tremendous bite on board the Freedom. They ended up with, I think, 65 of those big Cortez Bank yellowtail. And for me, man, I think I'd rather do that than catch the bluefin tuna. It's a toss-up. We're so blessed that we have to talk like this. Like, you know, I'd rather catch a whole bunch of big yellows like Guadalupe Island size Forkies than catch limits of bluefin tuna. But that's where we are. It's been really remarkable fishing. Great bite on Cortez. Sporty weather, said Jeff Yeomans, but they hung in there and made it happen. And a great trip, and it couldn't happen to a nicer group of folks. I will tell you that right now. Channel Islands, the islands themselves, pretty rough up there right now. Catching some rockfish. They're still, once this weather comes down, next weekend's going to be pretty darn nice up there. And about midweek, it's going to start to calm down. Look for some sea bass and halibut. They have that, has a chance also. So hopefully that will kick into gear also. On the beaches here, some really good corvina fishing. Perfect conditions to catch a corvina here this morning. Light line in the shallow areas, way inside where that wave is breaking. Right here, there's corvina all through here. The water's starting to warm up again, starting to clean up. That's good news. There's also yellowfin croaker, occasional halibut, and spotfin croaker down around Oceanside, working their way up. They bite on the bait really well. You can dig up sandworms or sand crabs, or you can go to your surf fishing headquarters for Southern California, and that would be Big Fish Bait and Tackle on the corner of PCH and Seal Beach Boulevard. They're open super early, I think 5 a.m. Check with the store hours, but they're up early. They're ready to go. They've got all kinds of your surf fishing equipment and tackle, and also a vast array of baits that'll catch you a lot of fish. Speaking of that, Dominic Peralta, Fishing the Surf. Dominic, good morning. Dominic said, Phil, what a day. I got my first white sea bass in the surf. It wasn't legal, but it was a white sea bass. I know the feeling. It's so special to pull that off. It's so exciting to catch a sea bass. He also had 2 calico bass, a yellowfin croaker, a halibut, and a queenfish, and he did that all on his birthday. Happy birthday, Dominic. I can't think of a better way to celebrate. What a great experience. That sounds like so much fun. All right, my friends, there's a lot going on. Tanner Bank, slow, really slow here, but hopefully it'll start to kick into gear as we move out of this moon phase. I think that's probably what it is, but it's as if one door closed and another one opened. Why? Because that Dorado is really starting to bite down in the San Diego area, and while we're not catching it up here, we're seeing it, and that's a very good sign, a sign of things to come. We're continuing to send more goods down to Mexico. Have another huge shipment going down there November, December. So one way you can help is by purchasing a raffle ticket. It would really help us a lot. If you come by the office ever and you see our door open, pop in. We'll have some tickets for you. If you'd rather do it right here, just send me a text, 657-227-6459. Don't forget, Independence 5-day, $2,250 for a 5-day. That's a good price on a vessel like that. I'll be there to shoot a video and catch you catching your big trophy fish. As always, I don't care if it's foggy or it's sunny, we're so blessed, and it's a great way to start my morning with each and every one of you. Have a great start to your work week, and I hope to see you really, really soon.